Hi, my name is Renee Robinson. Previously, I worked in government for a little over a decade. During that time, I did property tax and sales tax collection. What I came to realize is that a lot of people, despite their educational or socioeconomic background, had no real concept of how government works, nor did they understand the various laws that were made yearly and how those laws impacted their lives on a daily basis, especially at a local level. So, what I did was I made it my business to learn as much as I could about various government policies and how those policies had both positive and negative implications. I then used the information and the knowledge that I had by sharing it with my customers because I felt it was very important for them to be empowered so they can make very well informed decisions. I also went out of my way to advocate for customers because I understood that a lot of the laws that were not made, nor were they applied in an equitable fashion. So I don't believe one should be penalized because a law is written in an ass backwards fashion, for lack of a better word. So recently, Dr. Boyce Watkins provided me the opportunity to write an article for financialjuneteenth.com. The title of the article is How Tax Liens Are Stealing Wealth from Millions of People. If you have not read the article, you should hop over to financialjuneteenth.com and check it out. So, the article in brief was about how tax liens work, also how tax liens can keep people from accumulating wealth, but more importantly, from passing that wealth on to their family. So you may ask, what the heck is a tax lien? So basically, a tax lien is a overdue water bill, sewer bill, or your property tax bill that has gone unpaid for a certain amount of time. And once that time frame has expired, your tax authority has the legal right to allow a third party to pay that tax on your behalf. When you repay the third party, you repay them with interest. For example, I paid your $200 water bill that was overdue. I send you a bill for an additional $800. Why? Because the $800 covers my administrative fees, my legal fees, and whatever other fees that I have incorporated in that $800. So your total due to me would be $1,000. That's how much you would have to pay me to recoup and to make your tax lien clear in terms of your credit report. So today we're going to dig a little bit deeper and talk about the predatory side of tax liens. This is because it's very important. In the last 10 years or so, I've noticed this huge growing of private companies that all they do is tax liens. All they do is go in and buy delinquent tax liens, and then they auction those homes or those properties off. So I was doing some research and I came across an article about the city of Chicago and how a lot of loopholes in the tax laws allow for these very, very despicable third-party investors to go in and to pay people's tax liens. Now, they didn't just pay anybody's tax liens. They specifically targeted black homeowners. And you may ask, why did they do that? Well, they did that because they knew 9 times out of 10 that the black homeowners would not necessarily be able to pay them back. And actually, that's what they wanted because they were not interested in getting their money back. They were interested in acquiring the property itself. Now, that's problematic because a lot of these tax liens were not for huge amounts of money. I know when you hear tax lien, a lot of people assume, oh my God, they must have owed, the county thousands and thousands of dollars. No, in a lot of these cases, the amount is very small. One bill was for as low as $41.57. I mean, that is utterly ridiculous. Most people fill up their car for more than $41.57 in a week. Another tax bill was for $896, and the valuation or the value of the property was for $50,000. So it's asinine that somebody should lose a $50,000 home over $896 tax bill. It makes no sense. It's not logical. It's not rational. It's not reasonable. And most of these homes had very small amounts of taxes that were due. Something that, in my opinion, that if the county really wanted to put forth the effort, they really could have negotiated with these people or set up a payment plan if they chose to do so. Tax authorities have a lot more power than people may realize. This is very disturbing because this has not only created a problem in Chicago where hundreds of people were caught up in this web of predatory tax liens, but throughout the country. Baltimore was another city, and other cities have been caught up in this, where you have these outside sources that come in solely looking for delinquent property taxes so they can pay them and hopefully acquire the property as opposed to actually get their money back. So some things that I think that counties can do and should do to eliminate this predatory, tax lien environment. One is to keep the negotiation internal. Why are they allowing third-party sources to come in and pay such small amounts of tax liens? It just doesn't make sense. If they had somebody internally specifically dedicated to negotiating with customers or setting up a payment plan, a lot of times I feel like, and I've seen where people will pay bills if you're willing to work with them, but a lot of times if you put people's back up against the wall and you don't leave them with much choice, then you don't give them the flexibility they need to actually satisfy the debt. Another thing these counties could do is for debts under a certain amount, so let's say $1,500 and less, they could just report that to the credit bureau. In fact, most of these counties do report delinquent tax debt to the credit bureau, so they could leave it on their credit report, because 9 times out of 10, if the person is seeking a loan or they need to pull collateral or use their house for collateral, then that information will come up when their credit is run, and that will most definitely get them into the office or on the phone with them. Another thing that these counties could do is actually eliminate a lot of these excessive fees and administrative fees out of these tax liens, because what happens is a lot of times the bill may start at, like I said, $200, but by the time these tax lien companies add on all these extra fees, you got people paying anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, $3,000 from an original $200 bill. And to me, that's excessive. That is beyond getting your money back. That is excessive. They could also limit the percentage of interest that's made on these tax liens. I saw in this article that some tax liens had an 18% interest fee. Like, that's ridiculous. Why not cap it to 5%? Why not cap it to 10%? I mean, most people they're getting more than the church gets. Not that I'm religious, but just to make that comparison, these tax lien have 18% interest attached. Like, it's just not feasible. It's ridiculous. It should not be about these private companies building their companies only from tax liens. It should be about making the county whole, but also keeping the taxpayers in their home. And it's interesting because I don't even think counties realize that while they may be getting their money on the front end, they're still losing out. How are they losing out, you might ask? Well, if you have a lot of empty housing stock, how is the county winning? If you pay attention to the news, especially in a lot of these economic development areas all across the nation in major cities, some of the things that you hear governors and mayors complain about is, oh, we have all this housing stock, we need to try to get people in the county. Well, maybe if you negotiated with people, with their tax bill, you can keep people in your county, you can keep people in their homes. Because the reality is you cannot have a vital community and also let outside sources come in and buy up all these tax liens. A lot of times the people buying these tax liens do not live in the community, nor do they give a shit about the community, nor do they have any real vested interest in the community. So they don't care if the houses sit empty for years at a time. So to me, it's more important to have people in the house that want to be in their house and just work with them to pay their tax bill, because 9 times out of 10, the people that bought those houses aren't going anywhere anytime soon. They're vested in the community. They want to live there, so make it doable and make it possible for them, even when they fall on hard times and they may not be able to. So I hope this was very informative. What I would like for you to do is to look into your own community and see how many of these tax lien companies are popping up in your area. See if tax liens have negatively impacted people you know. See if it's impacted your family. Really take the time and really dig a little deeper and do the research. 1, so you can be informed, and 2, so you can protect your wealth and pass that wealth on to the next generation. I thank you for your time. I look forward to bringing you more content, particularly surrounding topics like this, because it's very important that we know this so we can protect our generational wealth. Stay tuned for more content coming from my up-and-coming platform. If you wish to get more information or get updates from me, please email me at policyrx@gmail.com. Again, please email me at policy, policyrx@gmail.com. Thank you again for your time and attention. And I appreciate Dr. Boyce for this platform, and you all have a great day.